एवरीवन, मैं हूं देवांशी आशर एंड वेलकम बैक टू 5 पैसा। हमें कई सारे लोगों की ये क्वेरी आई है कि जिस तरह से मार्केट्स बहुत वॉलेटाइल हो चुके हैं, मार्केट्स में कभी भी हम देखते हैं कि यूएस में कभी कुछ होता है तो हमारे मार्केट्स गिर जाते हैं, कभी यूएस मार्केट्स चढ़ते हैं तो हमारे मार्केट्स चढ़ जाते हैं, तो काफ़ी वॉलेटिलिटी देखने मिलती है। एंड नॉट जस्ट दिस, कई सारे क्राइसिस हमने देख लिए हैं पिछले कई महीनों में, जैसे यूक्रेन रशिया क्राइसिस थे, ताइवान एंड चाइना क्राइसिस की बातें हो रही है। तो उस बीच जब मार्केट्स बहुत ज़्यादा अप मूव और डाउन टर्न दिखाते हैं, तब एक टेंशन ज़रूर आती है और रातों की नींद हराम होती है कि यार शिट, हमें इतना सारा पैसा इक्विटी मार्केट्स में नहीं लगाना चाहिए था, इंस्टेड हमें गोल्ड खरीद लेना चाहिए था। अगर वॉर होती है तो क्या करेंगे, क्या हमारी एफडी बहुत ज़्यादा सेफ है, क्या इक्विटी मार्केट सेफ है? तो ये सारे सवाल पर आज हम बात करने वाले हैं। बेसिकली आज हम असेट एलोकेशन क्या होता है, वॉलेटाइल मार्केट्स में असेट एलोकेशन कैसे करना चाहिए, एंड इज देयर अ पॉसिबिलिटी, क्या कोई ऐसा टूल है, मैजिक टूल, जहाँ पे आप एक बार असेट एलोकेशन कर दो एंड आप लॉन्ग टर्म तक एकदम आराम से सो सकते हो विदाउट हैविंग एनी वरीज अबाउट योर मनी एंड एज वेल योर मनी इज ग्रोइंग। तो इन सब टॉपिक्स पर डिटेल में डिस्कशन करने के लिए आज हमारे साथ है स्मॉल केस के मिस्टर प्रणव शांडलिया। हाय प्रणव, वेलकम बैक टू 5 पैसा। हाउ आर यू
Hi
डूइंग?
Devanshi, thanks for having me.
ऑलराइट, सो प्रणव, जैसे मैंने कहा, सबसे पहले तो लोगों को बस इतना ही पता है कि असेट एलोकेशन एक ही तरीके से हो सकता है, एंड वो तीन मैजिकल नंबर्स सबके पास है, 12, 80, 20। 12 महीने का एक्सपेंसेस रख दो, 80% जो आपके बचे हैं पैसे उसको आप इक्विटी मार्केट्स में लगा दो, एंड बचे हुए 20% को डाइवर्सिफाई करने के लिए आप गोल्ड में लगाइए। बट क्या आज के टाइम पर डज दिस वर्क और इज देयर एनी अदर वे? और सबसे पहले तो जिन लोगों को ये नहीं समझ में आ रहा है कि असेट एलोकेशन होता क्या है, कैसे करना चाहिए, तो उसको समझते हैं।
Sure. So, thanks for having me. So, in this session, we'll talk about what asset allocation is. तो like Devanshi was saying, हम लोगों को ये अच्छी तरीके से समझ में नहीं आता है कि asset allocation होता क्या है। जब हम markets enter करते हैं, generally speaking, so many of us are very young coming to the markets, तो enter करते ही हमको एक ही समझ में आता है, and वो है ट्रेडिंग करना, and वो है डायरेक्ट इक्विटी स्पेस में ट्रेडिंग करना। तो उसके अलावा there are so many other things, beautiful things that we can do in the markets which we will not be aware of. तो इस पर्टिकुलर सेशन में हम लोग क्या करने वाले हैं, लाइव डेटा के साथ, चार्ट्स के साथ देखते हैं कि मार्केट करेक्शंस कब कब होते हुए आया है, और अगर मार्केट करेक्शन हो भी रहा है तो एस्टिमेशन के, जस्ट कीपिंग एन एस्टिमेशन, मार्केट करेक्शन जनरली कितना तक होता है या होते हुए आया है, ड्यूरेशन क्या होता है, टाइम ड्यूरेशन क्या होता है हर एक करेक्शन का, और हम ये भी देखते हैं कि अगर हमको मार्केट करेक्शंस में पार्टिसिपेट नहीं करना है तो किस तरीके से एसेट एलोकेशन स्ट्रेटजी के साथ हम एक बेहतर पोर्टफोलियो डिजाइन कर सकते हैं जो सिर्फ मार्केट अप ट्रेंड में नहीं बल्कि मार्केट डाउन ट्रेंड में भी इट परफॉर्म्स बेटर देन द रेगुलर मार्केट और बेंचमार्क इंडेक्स। सो यही होने वाला है आज का डिस्कशन। So with that said, I think Devanshi, we can go ahead and start the PPT, and we'll show the audience live as to what can be expected out of the markets. Now, पहले before we try to understand asset allocation, हमको पहले मार्केट का नेचर समझना चाहिए, मार्केट्स बिहेवियर समझना चाहिए। So diving randomly into the market and assuming that next 10 days में या next 1 month में या next 6 months में मुझे मार्केट समझ में आ जाएगा is a wrong notion that all of us tend to get in the market. So even when I got into the markets, I was overconfident as a young person immediately, and I started getting I would say extremely overconfident कि I will understand the markets very soon. It could be 3 months, it could be 4 months. And let me be honest with you, the first 3 years of my trading journey in the markets, I thoroughly lost money before I could figure out, a way to approach the market in a very positive fashion. So it is the overconfidence which killed me. So even इस particular session में हम लोग, in order to avoid that nature, we will try to see कि मार्केट करेक्शंस को पहले कैसे समझ सकते हैं। तो इसको समझने के लिए पहले हम लोगों को ग्राफ्स को देखना पड़ेगा सिंस द मार्केट्स स्टार्टेड, सिंस फॉर एग्जांपल समथिंग लाइक निफ्टी स्टार्टेड। तो let's dive into it. The first correction, that meaningful correction that we can see is from April 92 to May 93. So यहाँ पे अगर हम top to bottom का correction देखें तो there is about a 52% correction that is happening, which is a very very significant correction. The second correction is something that we can see from September 94 to Jan 96. So यहाँ पे the time duration is slightly more, it's about a little more than 1 year. तो यहाँ पे भी आप देख सकते हैं कि the correction has lasted for almost 41%. उसके बाद भी the market has not recovered immediately. You can see that it has gone up a little bit and then फिर से there is pressure. There is tremendous amount of pressure on the markets to not go up. So the corrections have lasted for quite some time, but overall 41% के हिसाब से हम लोग correction को ले सकते हैं. So the next one is coming from it starts from to the year 2000 onwards. So Feb 2000 से September 2001 तक again we have seen a 53% correction coming in the markets, which is very very deep. And then if we take a look at the next crisis, which we all I think remember, so all the old people who have I would say market veterans who have been in the markets for a long time. So this is one thing that we will very clearly remember, where the index itself corrected by 64%.
And there was, I mean 2008 was a time जो हम लोग एक एग्जाम्पल की तरह सेट करते हैं कि यार 2008 आ गया तो क्या करेंगे.
करेक्ट, क्योंकि 2008 में सिर्फ मार्केट करेक्शन नहीं बल्कि देयर वाज एक्सट्रीम पेसिमिज्म इन ऑल कंट्रीज फॉर एवरीथिंग, because everything had started falling. Banks were not lending money even to retail people, so lending had completely stopped. We had gone into a situation where banks were reluctant to lend money even to decent CIBIL score holders, क्योंकि उनको समझ में नहीं आ रहा था कि अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट कितना होने वाला है, क्या हम अगर लेंड करेंगे तो हमको पैसा वापस मिलने वाला है कि नहीं. It was a very bad time, honestly speaking.
Definitely.
So yeah,
yes, all assets had performed really bad. कोई भी asset में आप डाल दीजिए, आपने पैसा गवाया है.
Yes, with the exception of one asset class which we'll be talking today, which will be seen as a very safe asset during that turbulent time frame. So that is something that we'll be focusing on today.
Perfect.
Sure. So we all can see कि March 2008 में the markets have corrected by 64%. And then similarly, if we take the correction from November 2010 to December 2011 for more than 1 year, you would not have been able to make money out of the markets if you had gone long. So क्योंकि the index has corrected by approximately 27% during that time frame. And from 2015 to 2016 again, we can see about a 25% correction coming in. And if we move on, this is another thing which we all will remember very clearly. There is no person who is attending this session who does not remember this. This is probably the fastest correction we saw in the markets. So from Jan 2020 to March 2020, we can see almost a 40% correction coming in the markets. This is because of the COVID crisis. And COVID, I think, had just touched India and everyone panicked. So,
yes.
Right. So these are the major corrections that we have seen. तो ये सब तो ठीक है, लेकिन एक अगर हमको एक ओवरव्यू लेना है और इसमें अगर कुछ हमको समझने को मिलना है तो हम लोगों को अभी स्क्रीन पे इस डेटा को देखना है. तो all these corrections that I have spoken about have been laid out in one single file over here. So you can take a look at this and understand that we have seen about 7 market corrections since 92, and all of these market corrections have lasted for, with the exception I think of the latest one, COVID crisis के अलावा, all the other corrections have lasted for approximately 1 year or more than that. And हर एक correction आ रहा है with a severe degree of it. So it is not a 10% correction we are talking about. It is not a correction of 15%. We are seeing major corrections of 25%, 38%, 50%, 40%, 64%, and so on. If we were to look at this data in another way, then there are certain things that we can pull out of it. If 7 corrections have occurred in the last 31 years, then on an average, how many corrections can we expect? So हम लोगों को एक I would say एक bias रहता है एज ट्रेडर्स कि मार्केट करेक्शन अगर हो गया तो फिर से नहीं आने वाला है, बिकॉज देयर इज नो ट्रिगर फॉर इट. कोविड वाज अ ट्रिगर. अगर वो ट्रिगर नहीं होता तो मार्केट शायद करेक्ट ही नहीं होता. लेकिन दिस इज अ कंप्लीटली रॉन्ग पिक्चर दैट वी हैव. मार्केट करेक्शंस विल हैपन because of undervaluation and overvaluation. Sometimes there is an external factor. लेकिन अगर वो external factor आता भी नहीं तो over a period of time the correction has to come. आज नहीं तो if the bull momentum continues without decent amount of earnings growth, वो correction को तो आना ही चाहिए. तो keeping that in mind, yeah. So keeping that in mind, what is the average correction, or when can we expect an average correction? So if we take a look at data, we can see that on an average, one market correction occurs every 4.4 years. Okay? So it is kind of not a guaranteed thing. Obviously, nobody can speculate these things. But if you're 4 years away from the latest market crash, which had happened, that means that you're coming somewhere near the average time during which a market correction could occur. So this is based on the simple data that we saw previously. It is not a mandatory thing, but it is something that we can always use as a reference point. And there are, every time a correction has come, there have been separate reasons for it. And every time people will say that had this reason not happened, कि वो correction आता ही नहीं. लेकिन वो वैसा होता ही नहीं. There are certain things which happen in domestic economies. For example, we can take a different country जहाँ पे the market is not related to Indian market at all. Indian market शायद एक reason से गिर रहा होता है. It could be, something like a Satyam scam. It could be whatever it is. But if we go and take a look at anybody else's market, वहां पे भी correction होता ही रहता है. If we go to country C, वहां पे भी होता रहता है. And everywhere people will say, अगर हमारे देश में ये नहीं होता या ग्लोबल सिचुएशन में ये नहीं होता तो हमको ये करेक्शन देखना नहीं पड़ता. बट एवरेज में एवरी करेक्शन एवरी मार्केट में एवरी कंट्री में इट इज अ कॉमन थिंग. सो
सैड प्रणव, बट यू नो व्हाट हैपेंस इज, हम कुछ भी होता है तो हम किसी चीज को ब्लेम करना, ढूंढना शुरू कर देते हैं कि क्यों आता है. एंड सिमिलर थिंग हैपेंस इन द मार्केट एज वेल, कि हम ब्लेम करना शुरू कर देते हैं. लाइक अगर मार्केट्स बहुत ज्यादा चढ़ जाते हैं, आई मीन टाइम वाइज करेक्शन इज ऑल्सो अ फैक्ट इन द मार्केट. जो लोग नहीं समझ पाते हैं कि कितना ऊपर जाएगा, एंड नीचे जहाँ पे लोग छूट चुके हैं उनको भी एंट्री करने के मौके मिलने चाहिए. सो अगेन जैसे आपने कहा कि रीजंस कोई भी हो, बट करेक्ट जरूर होता है. हर किसी को बाइंग करने का मौका जरूर मिलता है.
करेक्ट, राइट. And this is common across all countries, across all traders, across all investors. So this is a very common thing for us.
Yes.
So for the people who are attending today, one number that we have to keep in mind is the second statistics that we are showing on the screen. There's another data point that you can keep as a reference. So the average correction, जब भी corrections आता है, we saw all the corrections in this particular graph. If we take its average, तो average correction last होता है approximately 42%. So this is not a number to ignore. It is not a number to skip. It is not a number to think कि इस बार अगर हो गया तो नेक्स्ट बार शायद नहीं होने वाला है. तो हर एक करेक्शन में ये होता है. तो 42% में if the index is correcting, all of us know to what degree individual stocks can correct. So generally high beta stocks, which many of them are, they correct much more than the index as such. So if there is a stock which has a beta of 2, if Nifty falls by 50% or 40%, can you imagine the condition of that particular stock which is correlating with Nifty? So these are the things that we should keep in mind. And हमने अभी देख लिया मार्केट करेक्शन एवरेज कब आता है और क्या कब आ सकता है, एंड द डिग्री टू विच द मार्केट हैज करेक्टेड. नेक्स्ट इंपॉर्टेंट फैक्ट है एवरेज करेक्शन कितना दिन तक रहता है. सो दिस इज अनदर थिंग वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड. हम लोग मार्केट जब गिरना लगता है ना, हम लोग इमीडिएटली ये स्पेकुलेट करने की कोशिश करते हैं कि कब तक गिरेगा और कब तक रिकवरी स्टार्ट होने वाला है. तो दिस इज अ कॉमन क्वेश्चन इन ऑल ऑफ आवर माइंड्स. So whether I am from Smallcase, whether you are a retail trader, whether it is Devanshi from 5Paisa, or whether it is anybody else in the markets, every stakeholder has one question in mind. ये कब बंद होने वाला है और मार्केट्स का रिकवरी कब चालू होने वाला है. तो इसको हम एक डेटा से भी समझ सकते हैं. That is the last data. Average correction lasts for approximately 1.2 years. In the sense, that is what has the history has taught us. And history generally tends to at least rhyme going forward. तो history से कुछ तो सीख के आगे हम बढ़ सकते हैं. तो एवरेज करेक्शन अगर 1.2 इयर्स लास्ट करता है तो वी शुड नॉट ऑलवेज अस्यूम कि 3 months के बाद लेट अस से द मार्केट्स आर फॉलिंग एंड इट्स बीन 3 months सिंस द मार्केट्स हैव स्टार्टेड फॉलिंग. देयर शुड बी दिस सेल्फ डिसिप्लिन हमारे अंदर जहां पे हमको बिकॉज वी आर टायर्ड ऑफ द मार्केट फॉलिंग we should not start getting into the market saying, you know what, the markets have corrected. I've seen it for 3 months. Maybe it's going to go up from here. And now that becomes speculative. क्योंकि हमने डेटा को कभी देखा नहीं है, उसके ऊपर हमने बैठा नहीं और हमने समझा नहीं कि एक करेक्शन यूजुअली कितना टाइम तक रहता है. If you notice that the average correction has lasted for 1.2 years, अर्ली एंट्री या प्रीमेच्योर एंट्री मार्केट में जो हम करते हैं टुवर्ड्स द लॉन्ग साइड, उसको हम सिग्निफिकेंटली रिड्यूस कर सकते हैं. ठीक है. सो नाउ दैट वी हैव अंडरस्टूड ऑल दिस, व्हाट वी विल ट्राई टू डू इज ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड कि हम लोग एज रिटेल इन्वेस्टर्स कैसे एक बढ़िया सा पोर्टफोलियो बना सकते हैं. तो आई नो दैट there are a lot of young people who will be coming over to this session, and we are the future of investing, in the sense millennials and those who are probably less than 35, you are shaping the markets going forward. And one thing that we all tend to do is get overexcited when we are coming to the markets and start getting into ultra short frequency trading without understanding कि हम कर क्या रहे हैं markets में. तो एक अंदाज से, और हाउ डू आई से इट, एक हंच से या इंट्यूशन से रैंडमली ट्रेड्स लेना चालू करते हैं, एंड बिकॉज ऑफ विच इंस्टेड ऑफ बिल्डिंग वेल्थ वी आर डिस्ट्रॉइंग वेल्थ, आवर ओन वेल्थ इन द लॉन्ग रन. एंड इफ यू डू नॉट बिलीव मी, and if you're very new to the markets, and if you're thinking of becoming the master of it and cracking it in the short term in just 1 month or something like that, your account will speak otherwise. In the sense, the truth might be far from it. So what I would personally suggest is that if you have an inclination towards trading, अगर आपको ट्रेडिंग करना है तो उसके लिए कैपिटल सेपरेटली रखना है आपको, एंड जो इन्वेस्टिंग आपको करना है which is a more disciplined, thorough, mature way to come and play in the markets, then उसके लिए एक allocation separately आपको रखना है, एंड उसको आपको चालू करना है थ्रू एन SIP route. इस पर्टिकुलर सेशन में हम लोग डिस्कस करेंगे कि अगर हम इक्विटी या डेट ऐड कर रहे हैं अपना पोर्टफोलियोस में, तो क्या पोर्टफोलियो में कौन सी तरीके से चेंजेस हमको दिखने वाला है, एंड जो हम मार्केट करेक्शन के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, क्या मार्केट करेक्शन में हम लोगों को प्रोटेक्शन मिलता है, और अगर मिलता है तो किस डिग्री तक मिलता है. तो दिस वी विल अगेन सी विथ डेटा, नॉट विथ स्पेक्युलेटिव माइंडसेट. ठीक है. तो first we will understand how gold performs during the time equity is falling, or we will see how equity performs when gold is falling, and then we will see longer picture या broader picture कि long term में how does equity perform and how does gold perform. ठीक है. तो अभी short term का graphs देखते हैं पहले. तो एक ग्राफ होता है, this I have data from 2008 onwards. तो you can see the highlighted data on the chart, which is the correction from Jan 2008 to February 2009. So इस करेक्शन में हम लोगों को यहाँ पे दिख रहा है कि मार्केट्स, दैट इज निफ्टी, हैज करेक्टेड बाय 52%. तो इसी टाइम ड्यूरेशन में अगर 52% मार्केट गिर गया, और मान लीजिए वी हैड अ वेरी सिंपल पोर्टफोलियो जहां पे हम लोग निफ्टी में एक्सपोजर ले चुके थे, फॉर एग्जांपल विद एन इंडेक्स और विद समथिंग लाइक अ डायरेक्ट इंडेक्स इन्वेस्टिंग, एंड नाउ 50% of that was towards that and 50% was towards gold. तो अभी क्या होता गोल्ड का प्राइस? Same time duration, if we take a look at gold, we can see that gold has appreciated by 46%, which means if you had direct exposure only to equity through an index, through stocks, you could have seen a bigger correction. Through an index, you might see somewhere around a 42% correction. But same, if you had invested 50-50 in equity and gold, then you would have seen 52% correction minus 46%, which means you would have only seen probably, I would say, less than 20% of correction as what you would have seen otherwise. So if your portfolio had to fall by, for example, let us say you had 5 lakhs, and if your portfolio had to fall by 2.5 lakhs during an equity exposure correction, then it would have not fallen even by 1/5 of that if you had taken this kind of a approach towards investing. Okay. So now let us move on and let us try to understand another correction. So Nifty between October 2010 to December 2011, you would not have made probably any money in the markets because for more than 1 year, 2 months, Nifty never gave a positive return, which means most of the stocks inside of it did not give a positive return. It gave a negative return. So, is situation mein, you would not have made any money in the markets. But at the same point of time, and you would have probably lost about 15% of your capital. But at the same point of time, if we take a look at gold, gold has appreciated by 44%, which means that your returns would have been 44% minus 15% divided by 2. So that would have been your average return coming in the market, which means you would have made money in the markets at that point of time. Now, I'm showing you graphs of how equity is when equity is falling, gold is going up. But can we think of the reverse? When gold falls, does equity go up? And why is this happening? So, before going to the next graph, I'll tell you why this is happening. So, when Nifty falls, why is the price of gold increasing? What relationship does it have with gold? Gold is generally seen as a safe asset class when the markets are not performing well. So it could be FIIs, it could be DIIs, it could be any sort of institutional investors, retail investors. When the equity market is falling, the data which I spoke about, the big players will already have knowledge of that data. कि markets का correction अभी चालू हो गया, market correction किस degree तक हो सकता है, कब तक हो सकता है. They will have a rough idea about it and they'll have their own analysis. So if they figure out that next 1 year the markets are not going to do well, then they are not going to keep their capital in the markets, and at the same point of time they are not going to sit idle on the cash. The cash is there to deploy somewhere, and that deployment happens towards a safer asset class called as gold, because gold is a reserve currency for most countries, and gold is a place where retail investors will also flock towards. So money flow happens out of the equity markets into gold. And because it is happening out of the equity markets, equity will fall even more because now there is supply pressure happening there. And because of that, whatever money is flowing out will start getting into gold and start pushing the price of gold up. So now, because of that, gold starts going up. This is the simple common logic कि gold ऊपर क्यों जाता है market गिरते वक्त. Now, if this is true, तो हमको ये भी समझना चाहिए कि is the reverse of this also true, right? तो उसके लिए हम लोग देखते हैं gold correction from 2013 to 15. Gold has corrected about 23%. If we look at equity, equity has gone up by 67%. So if you take a full exposure to gold, saying मुझे gold में ही रहना है, मुझे equity में नहीं रहना है, again you are missing out on these kind of things. Where you would have made a negative return, you should have actually made a positive return by diversifying it. Similarly, if we take a look at COVID crisis, एकदम से market गिर गया, most pessimistic market ever we have witnessed, and in this we saw about a 30% index correction coming through. But if we were to look at gold during the same time frame, even though money supply was tight, the price of gold increased by approximately 37%. So again, where you should have really made a loss, you made a your portfolio was never really affected. चाहे वो COVID हो जाए, चाहे वो world changing event हो जाए, your portfolio was stable, right? तो ये डेटा सब जानते वक्त, okay, I'll show you ये डेटा जान के all of you try to question what I am trying to tell you. What I have told you up until now is that if you invest only in Nifty, when Nifty falls, gold will go up. If you invest in gold, when gold falls, equity will go up. So you have to do both. So आप लोग ये भी क्वेश्चन पूछ सकते हैं कि अगर इंडेक्स गिर रहा है और गोल्ड ऊपर जा रहा है, या गोल्ड गिर रहा है इंडेक्स ऊपर जा रहा है, तो नेट सम जीरो ही होना चाहिए ना. So it should be a very plain graph if you invest like this, because one asset class is doing the negative of the other asset classes. So actually speaking, returns मिलना ही नहीं चाहिए, more or less. The answer is not true. तो उसको भी समझने के लिए हम एक ग्राफ लेके आए हुए हैं आपके लिए। तो let us take a look at Nifty's growth from 2007 onwards. Okay, so you can see the first mark over there and the second mark there. So anything even before 2007, equity has given a great return, but I'm taking the data from 2007 onwards. To 2007 say we can see that Nifty has given approximately a 332% return. Okay, this is the gross return. And if we take a look at the price appreciation of gold, even gold has given approximately a same number, that is 363. So whether we invest in equity or whether we invest in gold, the CAGR या compounded annual growth rate, जो average return हम देखते हैं हर साल, that number will tend to be more or less the same. लेकिन the problem comes during corrections, चाहे वो गोल्ड का शॉर्ट टर्म करेक्शंस हो जाए, चाहे वो निफ्टी का शॉर्ट टर्म करेक्शंस हो जाए, in these kind of time frames, what we will do as human beings, we will try to sell our holdings and we will try to panic, we will lose our peace of mind, right? And this will lead to all sorts of bad decisions coming in, one bad decision triggering another one, snowballing continuously, and ultimately we have not only lost our money, we have lost our peace of mind too. And there will come a time when you're going to go to your friend and say कि भाई मैं मार्केट्स छोड़ रहा हूँ, मुझे और यहाँ पे सह नहीं पाएगा, आई विल नॉट बी एबल टू टॉलरेट दिस, तो मैं तो परमानेंटली छोड़ने वाला हूँ. एंड अगेन being who we are, 6 months later we are going to come back and then the same journey is going to continue. तो keeping that in mind, क्या हम गोल्ड और इक्विटी को कंबाइन करते हुए एक ऐसा पोर्टफोलियो क्या हम देख सकते हैं जो हमको उतना ही रिटर्न्स दे लेकिन माइनस द हेडेक दैट इज कमिंग विद द मार्केट्स? तो इसको हम बुलाते हैं एसेट एलोकेशन स्ट्रेटेजी. एसेट एलोकेशन मींस गोल्ड एक एसेट होता है, इक्विटी एक एसेट होता है, डेट एक एसेट होता है. अगर तीनों एसेट्स को कंबाइन करके या एनी टू एसेट्स को अगर हम कंबाइन कर रहे हैं तो उसको बुलाते हैं हम एसेट एलोकेशन स्ट्रेटेजी. मार्केट कंडीशन के साथ या मार्केट कंडीशन के हिसाब से हम एक बास्केट डिजाइन कर रहे हैं एक थॉट प्रोसेस के साथ कि इस मार्केट कंडीशन में कितना एलोकेशन होना चाहिए इस एसेट के लिए, कितना एलोकेशन इस एसेट के लिए. तो generally speaking, all of us take 100% equity exposure when we are coming to equity markets, which means our exposure is only towards stocks. But can you think of a basket which is taking exposure 50% into equity and 50% into gold? Similarly, can you go one step further in the mindset and also think कि मुझे एफडी में लगाना नहीं है, लेकिन इन द इक्विटी स्पेस लिक्विड बीस इज अ गुड एसेट टू इन्वेस्ट इन व्हेन इट कम्स टू डेट. सो वैसे वाला एसेट क्लास को भी अंदर लेके आके कैन आई मेक अ पोर्टफोलियो व्हिच इज फ्रॉम ऑन इक्विटी, व्हिच इज टेकिंग एक्सपोजर टू इक्विटी, गोल्ड एंड डेट एट द सेम पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम. सो दिस इज व्हाट वी कॉल एज अ मल्टी एसेट अप्रोच टुवर्ड्स इन्वेस्टिंग. तो as we know, we have to first understand now we understood market correction ka nature, everything. Abhi now we have understood the relationship between equity and gold in short term, equity and gold in long term. So let us try to understand a combination of all of this, how asset allocation helps during market drawdowns. So first thing is, one asset class is going up, another one is going down, so it kind of starts evening out during that point of time. So what we have done is, from Smallcase side, we have designed a basket which is called as all, जहां पे हम basically 3 asset classes जिसके बारे में हमने बात किया था, वो तीनों asset class में intelligently allocate करते हैं. For example,
before you move forward, so I just wanted to understand, जैसे आपने कहा कि इक्विटी मार्केट्स में हमने लगा दिए 30% या मान लीजिए थोड़ा से ज्यादा, एंड देन यू आर बाइंग गोल्ड आल्सो, तो आपका हेजिंग तो हो गया, जिससे हमने कहा कि एक ऊपर जाता है, एक एसेट क्लास नीचे जाता है, एंड हमेशा से ऐसा ही रहा है, आगे भी वैसा ही चलता रहेगा. एंड देन हमने एक और एसेट क्लास को इसमें इंक्लूड किया है जो थोड़ा सा रिस्क फैक्टर उसमें हो सकता है, इंटायरली रिस्की नहीं है, रिस्क फैक्टर कम है. आई जस्ट वांटेड टू अंडरस्टैंड. फिर हमने कहा कि हम बेचेंगे भी नहीं ऐसे टाइम में. सो बेसिकली हम ये पोर्टफोलियो उन लोगों के लिए ज्यादा बना रहे हैं जो बहुत हाई रिटर्न्स भी नहीं देख रहे हैं, बहुत लो रिटर्न्स भी नहीं देख रहे हैं, बट आई वांट शांति की नींद चाहिए मुझे कि जहां पर मैंने अपना पैसा लगा दिया है एंड वो खत्म नहीं हो रहा है, बेसिकली मेरी कैपिटल डिस्ट्रॉय नहीं हो रही है।
राइट राइट,
एंड
यू आर
एट द सेम
एब्सोल्युटली
टाइम आई एम नॉट सेइंग कि मेरे को सीधा मेरा पैसा डबल हो जाएगा, ऐसी कोई स्कीम नहीं है।
राइट राइट। तो Devanshi, as we will all see, if we start a very small SIP also, for example, चाहे वो 10,000 का हो, चाहे वो 20,000 का हो, we will try to maybe cover it in a future session. A very small SIP in a portfolio which is giving a 10 या 11% return will generate enough wealth during the course of maybe 30 years, by the time all of us tend to retire and so on, where we can simply live off it and we don't even have to worry about the future.
द
And the
एक्चुअल
capital
लॉन्ग
gains.
टर्म की हम बात कर रहे हैं।
Right, right. So this portfolio or this kind of a small case basket is basically meant for, like you said, those who want peace of mind. Like, second and more importantly, it is also meant for those who are getting into ultra short term trading activities in the markets. Kyunki generally speaking, if you trade extremely in the markets, chances are that you are going to lose your capital and you will unnecessarily leave the markets permanently. So instead of doing that, if you are excited about trading in the markets, उसको एक कैपिटल के साथ करने का है। लेकिन a wiser person would know for sure कि वहां पे अगर जो भी हो जाए, मैं 10,000 SIP करने वाला हूं in a standard basket जो हर एक मार्केट कंडीशन में which is trying to achieve stability. तो they should also consider investing, for example, 7,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees as an SIP in such kind of baskets. Forget it, because उनको कुछ दिमाग नहीं लगाना है इन baskets में, and use their energy or focus their energy towards trading activities, which they're any which way is going to do. So that is also a core audience for a portfolio like all weather investing.
बेसिकली ये आप कोई भी ट्रेडिंग कर रहे हो, आपको लग रहा है कि मैंने सीख लिया, आप ट्रेडिंग कर रहे हैं, तो ये आपका इंश्योरेंस है। You lose something out, you are there, this will hold you.
Right, right.
Right.
So
Yes.
now, yeah. So now let us try to see कि all weather investing में कौन से सेट ऑफ या एसेट क्लासेस जो है वो किस तरीके से डिवाइड हो चुका है, एंड आज के लिए वो अलोकेशन कहां कहां पे हो रहा है। तो यहाँ पे कंपोजिशन अगर हमको देखना है तो फोकस ऑन द ग्राफ ऑन द स्क्रीन। गोल्ड में we have 38.8% exposure. This is as of today. Nippon India Junior Bs में we have about 8% exposure. Nippon India Nifty 50 BC ETF में we have about 17% exposure. And Nippon India Liquid BC ETF, जो मैं आपको डेट के बारे में बोल रहा था कि it's basically Liquid BC is as safe, I would say, as a corporate debt instrument. So it is very, very safe, actually speaking. So Nippon India Liquid BC ETF में we have an exposure of about 35%. Okay, so more or less equity, in fact, if you see, has lesser exposure into the portfolio. तो क्या ये पोर्टफोलियो हर बार ऐसे ही रहने वाला है या चेंज होगा मार्केट कंडीशन के हिसाब से? तो आज के लिए वी कैन सी गोल्ड इज द डोमिनेंट एसेट क्लास। लेकिन अगर मार्केट एकदम से गिर जाएगा, मान लीजिए मार्केट करेक्ट्स फॉर 2%, मार्केट करेक्ट्स फॉर 2 years and it has corrected by about 35%, something like that, and we don't see anything holding back the markets or pushing the markets down even further, then क्या होने वाला है? गोल्ड का इक्विटी डिक्रीज होने वाला है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, फ्रॉम 38% इट कुड कम डाउन टू 25% और 20%, समथिंग लाइक दैट, एंड मोर एक्सपोजर विल बी गिवन टू इक्विटी, क्योंकि नाउ इट इज टाइम फॉर इक्विटी टू शाइन. So all three asset classes at any point of time will always be there in the portfolio, because nobody can speculate. No analyst, not even the government can speculate, or their agencies can speculate कि market behavior कैसे होने वाला है. Regulators also will not be able to speculate about it, because it is all a collective psychology. So keeping that in mind, we know that that is a drawback, because of which at all points of time all three asset classes will be there. लेकिन to some degree we as human beings know कि इक्विटी अंडर वैल्यू हो चुका है या गोल्ड बहुत गिर चुका है, तो यहां से ऊपर जाना है, या टू सम डिग्री वी नो कि ओवर वैल्यूएशन पे मार्केट चल रहा है, अभी मार्केट को और भी कैपिटल या इन्फ्यूज नहीं होने वाला है कहीं पे भी. सो या फॉर एग्जांपल लेट अस से the regulators decide to bring about a policy which will take money out of the economy in order to control inflation, whatever it is. So in such cases also we will know that funds are not going to be pushed into the market. So in such cases, equity might not give returns. So we will intelligently decrease equity allocation and invest more into debt or into asset classes like gold. So basically this portfolio has all three asset classes. Thoda sa, it will adjust itself according to the market condition to take advantage of it when there is confidence कि advantage can be taken off. So this is how all-weather investing has been, allocation has been present as of today. तो अगर हमको ये सब कुछ समझ में आ गया, पहले हमने देखा कि मार्केट करेक्शंस के बारे में समझा, हमने समझा रिलेशनशिप बिटवीन इक्विटी एंड गोल्ड. डेट का कुछ समझना नहीं है. डेट इज लाइक मोर और लेस एन एफडी रिलेटेड और एफडी लिंक्ड रिटर्न, कॉर्पोरेट डेट लिंक्ड रिटर्न. तो हाउ इज a portfolio like this really performing in the market? How has it really performed? So now we will take a look at the most important thing we need to understand, that is performance. So if we take a look at this graph that we are able to see on the screen, so the blue color graph is basically showing you the performance of all-weather investing, and the yellow graph or the orangish color graph you are able to see is showing you the performance of large cap index, that is equity large cap index. तो हमने ऑल वेदर इन्वेस्टिंग को वी स्टार्टेड इट लाइव अबाउट मोर देन 3 years बैक. सो उस दिन से हमने इस पोर्टफोलियो का परफॉर्मेंस ट्रैक करना स्टार्ट कर लिया मार्केट के साथ. तो सम इंटरेस्टिंग थिंग्स टू नो हियर इज दैट फॉर अप्रोक्सीमेट और फॉर मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम ऑल वेदर इन्वेस्टिंग हैज performed better than the equity linked index. If you see the performance over here and so on, you will see, and up until here actually, you will see that during normal market conditions, which we saw in the year 2019, during bearish market conditions, which we saw in the year 2020, these are times when AWA as a portfolio has managed to stay very stable. And even during the biggest or one of the biggest bull markets, it more or less has managed in the long run to give a market linked return only. So is basically इस पोर्टफोलियो में है क्या? लार्ज कैप इंडेक्स भी है, दैट इज एक्सपोजर टू लार्ज कैप इंडेक्स भी है, along with that gold भी है, along with that debt भी है. So this correction that you can see here, March 2020 में, उस टाइम पे is when the portfolio really starts shining. And when we saw the biggest, fastest, most terrible correction come in the markets, you will see how solid all-weather investing as a basket was, how stable it was by looking at the graph. And irrespective of what market condition we were seeing, bullish markets, bearish markets, normal markets, this portfolio has managed to show a degree of ruggedness or show a degree of stability. And that is why this portfolio should be considered by those who wish to have a stable approach towards investing. So अगर हम overall returns देखें तो index भी उतना ही return दिया है, which means market भी उतना ही return दिया है, portfolio भी has given more or less the same return, gold has also more or less given the same return. So wherever you take the exposure in the long run, probably you are going to get the same return. But a basket like AWI, which combines everything, does so minus giving you all the headaches that come with micromanaging the market. And when the markets fall for 1 or 2 years, the pain that you're going to go through is something that this particular portfolio intends to address by taking exposure to multiple asset classes. So I hope that all of you now clearly understand how to approach the market if you're approaching with an agenda to also invest in the long term. And you should always approach the markets partially, at least. If you're inclined to do short-term trading, I am not discouraging you. Go ahead. You can do it by all means, but also have a safety net where आपको पता होना चाहिए कि मुझे SIP करना ही है मार्केट में, मैं उसके लिए पैसा लगाऊंगा ही. And if my trading doesn't work out, I'm not going to quit the markets. I'm not going to quit trading, but I'm at whatever is not working out for me, I'll quit. But what is working out for me, I'll let it work towards my advantage. So even an asset class like all-weather in basket, which has been designed to give you a stable 10 to 11% return, even investing in such kind of baskets over a long period of time, consistently, will fetch you phenomenal returns, which you will never be able to do in a traditional route. Whether you're a employee at a IT firm, whether you're just getting started, whatever it is, the amount of capital you'll be able to build, even with a portfolio which is giving you 10-11% return on an average in a stable way. If you start allocating 10,000, eventually step it up by 20,000, 30,000, and so on, you'll be able to generate more than enough return to not worry about money as a factor when the time comes, when you're probably 60 years old, when you're probably 65, and you need another source of income. This will be your source of income, right? So approach the market with both eyes open by doing both the things simultaneously. This would be my advice.
So प्रणव, आपने एकदम से हमें कन्विंस तो कर दिया. इनफैक्ट सबको, आई एम श्योर जो ये सुन रहे हैं, आपने सबको ये कन्विंस कर दिया दैट यू शुडंट गो वेरी हाई रिस्की. एंड ऑब्वियसली लाइक एज फैक्टर ऑलवेज मैटर्स कि आप कितना रिस्क ले रहे हो. ये जो पोर्टफोलियो है, अगर आप यहाँ पे SIP करते हैं, दिस इज इफेक्टिव एट ऑल एजेस, एट ऑल योर स्टेजेस इन लाइफ. तो ये जैसे मैंने कहा कि ये लॉन्ग टर्म है. अब 25, 40, 50 years में it will actually generate you huge wealth that's gonna stay with you. आप कभी भी निकाल सकते हो. So प्रणव, now बहुत सारे questions है लोगों को. सबसे पहले तो ये कैसे कर सकते हैं, कौन से प्लेटफॉर्म से हो सकता है, कितना पैसा लगाना पड़ेगा हमें. आप ये बता तो रहे हो कि अच्छे रिटर्न्स हैं, लेकिन पैसा कितना देना पड़ेगा. एंड a little smart investor would be like, नहीं, मुझे तो म्यूचुअल फंड में भी ये सब पता है, मुझे एक्सपेंस रेशियो बताओ.
Okay, done. So great questions. Everything, all of these are great questions. What we will do is, Devanshi, if you allow me to share my screen, or before we share our screen, Devanshi, let me do one thing. So Horizon small cases are also there. So Horizon के बारे में एक introduction देके लोगों को, we'll directly go to the platform. We'll show them where to find AWI, where to find Horizon, how to start their investment journey. And obviously, we will discuss the charges part of it, which I can tell right now is it's not anything to be even considering much about. All right. So now, one thing that we can take a look at from the graph that we just saw is that जब correction आता है या आया था, जिस दिन से ये portfolio चालू हुआ था, all weather investing. If we take a look at the market correction versus AWI till the bottom point, so equity large cap has corrected by almost approximately 30%. So this is from the day the portfolio was launched, and the AWI portfolio was launched, which was February 19th, 2020. Say correction which happened till April 17, 2020. But you can see to what degree AWI corrected. It was basically nothing. It was not even a correction to have worried about. Now, similarly, if we take the performance since launch of the portfolio, that is from the time the portfolio was launched. Sorry. So this data is especially for the crisis that had happened. That is from February 9, 20 to April 17, 20, just during that crisis. So the graph fell down horribly, whereas the equity market graph, whereas AWI did not correct even during market correction. One interesting thing is, if you had started your journey, investing journey, when the portfolio was launched, when AWI was launched, this was in 2018, then when the markets had corrected, if you had started your investing journey in AWI as well as equity markets, your equity market investment, even after 2 years, would have led to a loss of 20%. Whereas in AWI, you would have been plus by a little more than 7%. So this is the kind of, or this is some data that you should be considering later on. So iske alawa, performance since launch, like I said, if you had invested 100 rupees, more or less, both would have been in and around 150. So no difference between performance in the long run by directly investing in equity or AWI. Now, some other benefits is it helps beating market volatility, like we saw. You can start with a very low minimum ticket size, which I'll be showing you, and it is built to perform in all market conditions. Now, there's one more type of portfolio that all of you can consider. I'll run through this quickly. It is called Horizon small cases. All right. So Horizon small cases we have recently launched on the platform. सो आपको यहाँ पे स्क्रीन पे year 2030, 2035, 40, 45, 50 दिख रहा है. तो what we are doing here is we are giving you options. Do you want to stay invested till the year 2030 and then do you want to liquidate and go away? Do you want to stay invested till the year 2040? Do you plan on investing till the year 2050? So how have these small cases been designed? If you are investing only till the year 2030, then your allocation will be more safe, in the sense asset allocation will happen between gold, equity and debt at the same point of time, with more emphasis being given on debt, probably more than 50%. Similarly, if your horizon is somewhere in the year 2050, then more exposure will be given to equity and little exposure will be given to gold and debt, or maybe debt, something like that. So the more leeway you have, the more highway you have for your investment. Asset allocation is happening towards intelligently towards equity, and as and when the date gets closer, automatically इस portfolio में हम लोग reshuffle कर लेंगे, जहां पे asset allocation is happening towards more safer asset classes, and आपको ये rebalance notifications मिल जाते हैं. So depending on your mindset and the year till you want to stay invested, you can consider horizon small cases also to start with as an asset allocation strategy. So who can take advantage of asset allocation strategies? I think we have discussed this. Basically everybody can, with a special emphasis on those who are taking very high risk in the market. This is something you should consider as an alternative and a safer route to start your journey. So now what we can do is head over to the platform directly and we will try to see how to start our investment journey, where to start our investment journey, and we'll continue from there going forward. So, Devanshi, can you remove the PPT so that we can head over to the platform? Okay. So now I hope that, let me just start sharing my screen. Okay. I hope that my screen is visible to all of you. Devanshi, is it visible? Yeah. So I have now come down to smallcases.5paisa.com. This is the page. This is actually a microsite which belongs to 5Paisa. So here is where all the small cases will be listed. Okay. So now when you come over here, you can come to dashboard and you can come to discover. And यहाँ पे collections में you will find many collections. Long-term investors के लिए 5Paisa wealth baskets, 5Paisa research baskets, new investors के लिए baskets, ETF small cases and so on. So these are essentially collections. If you click on any collection, you will be shown small cases which are relevant to that particular collection. इसके अलावा under discover, if you go to all small cases, you'll be able to find a list of most of the direct equity portfolios. So if you want to track all weather investing, then यहाँ पे आप all weather investing type कर सकते हो and you can go to the portfolio which is all weather investing, जिसके बारे में हम लोग अभी बात कर रहे थे. As you can see, the 4-year CAGR for this portfolio is approximately 11.33%, which means that's the average return that the portfolio is managing to deliver. Apart from that, you can click on ETFs and weights. You can explore this particular basket. If you want to take a look at horizon small cases, what you can do is go to all small cases. नीचे scroll down कीजिए. यहाँ पे आपको investment strategies दिख रहा है. तो strategy के नीचे यहाँ पे if you click on goal based, then all the goal based portfolios, that is horizon portfolios, will be displayed to you. So the year 2030 horizon portfolios here, 2040, 2035, 45, 55 and 50. All of them are right here. Let us try to understand better. If I click on horizon 2030 and take a look at the constituents, you can see that corporate debt, जो yellow color है, corporate debt has 52% exposure. Cash has, you're sitting on 12% of cash. Equity has only 25% exposure and gold has 10% exposure. So this is a safe portfolio, so to speak, compared to a direct equity, full direct equity portfolio. Similarly, from 2030, if I go to the year 2040 and click on equity and weight, you will see that corporate debt का जो वहां पे 52% exposure था, यहाँ पे उसका exposure थोड़ा कम हुआ है and asset allocation is 44% into corporate debt, equity is 39, gold is 16. Similarly, अगर हम और भी थोड़ा आगे जाते हैं to the year 2050, and if we click here, we can see that equity has 53% exposure, corporate debt 24, gold 22. Similarly, if we go one step higher and go to the last portfolio 2055, यहाँ पे equity has 60% exposure, debt 14%, gold 25%. So in portfolios में क्या होने वाला है? For example, if I go to the year 2055 वाला portfolio and start my journey today, when I come 8 years close to the year 2055, so you can agree right now that the year 2030 is 8 years away from today. So similarly, when I am 8 years away from 2055 portfolio, you can more or less expect the portfolio to rebalance itself slowly and to have become something like this. So these are dynamic portfolios jahan pe slowly 2055 portfolio will become like a 2050 portfolio 5 years from today. Uske baad 5 years from that date, it will become like a 2045 portfolio, then 2035, then 2030. So aise asset allocation is happening intelligently, dynamically, and the more closer you are getting to your retirement, or the more closer you're getting to the date where you want to pull out the money is moving towards safer asset classes and trying to protect your capital more. That is the higher emphasis being given. So these are called as horizon baskets, which are one of the most intelligent baskets that are available in the asset allocation strategy, which I strongly suggest all of you should consider when you're starting your investment journey. So that is what I had to yeah.
इनफैक्ट प्रणव आपने मुझे दिखाया उसमें मुझे एक और चीज बहुत अच्छी लगी. यूजुअली क्या होता है कि जब हम लोगों को बताते हैं कि आप अपना इन्वेस्टमेंट शुरू कीजिए तो बिगनर्स विल बी लाइक कौन से स्टॉक में डालें, विल बी लाइक म्यूचुअल फंड इज सेफ, म्यूचुअल फंड सही है वहां पे डाल दीजिए, विल बी लाइक कौन से म्यूचुअल फंड में डालना है, विल बी लाइक ईटीएफ्स कर लीजिए. विद स्मॉल केस एंड विद सच, जैसे आपने होराइजन वाले केसेस दिखाए, पोर्टफोलियोज दिखाए, it's very smart that they are actually choosing the ETFs also for you, what is right, how much return. So that whole research जो है वो small case ने कर ली है. What you specifically need to do is just अपना पैसा एकदम भरोसे से उनको दे दीजिए, and within 5 years 10 years whatever your horizon is you can pick it up. तो आपको भी ये नहीं लगेगा कि अब मैं कहाँ इन्वेस्ट करूँ. All your answers are there, they are doing everything for you, which is very great, Pranav.
Yes. So with that said, this was actually a lengthy session. I hope that users did not get bored. At least, we had a lot of data to show you, which I really hope all of you will remember. You should not be forgetting it once this session is over. And once you close the video, all the data, the statistics that we have shown, what to do, what not to do, should not get wiped out immediately, which we all have a tendency of doing. Please keep all the data points in mind, and I wish you a very pleasant journey and a very exciting one too, if you decide to start it with small cases.
Definitely.
So
But Pranav, आपने important वाला question जवाब नहीं दिया, which I'll again ask you कि minimum कितना पैसा लगेगा?
Okay, so every small case, I am sorry that
That's okay.
I was not able to show that. Yeah. So every small case में the minimum ticket size will always be displayed on the right side. So if we take a look at horizon small cases, for example, horizon 2030, the minimum ticket size starts here. You can see here as rupees 8,817. 2040 के लिए you can start with a very small ticket size of 2824, 2035 2300, and so on. So all these numbers will marginally fluctuate with market condition. तो अगर ये पोर्टफोलियो का वैल्यू आगे जाके 1% ऊपर चला जाएगा तो ये मिनिमम टिकट साइज भी या मिनिमम इन्वेस्टमेंट अमाउंट भी 1% ऊपर चला जाएगा. सिमिलरली इफ वी टेक अ लुक एट ऑल वेदर इन्वेस्टिंग, तो ऑल वेदर इन्वेस्टिंग के लिए आज के लिए मिनिमम टिकट साइज इज 5526. इट विल मोर और लेस रिमेन द सेम, बट थोड़ा सा मार्केट कंडीशन के हिसाब से वो थोड़ा ऊपर नीचे होता जाएगा. Apart from that, coming to charges, which was one of the things we wanted to discuss, there will be whatever amount you want to invest, there will be just a one-time beginning only charges of 100 rupees plus 18 rupees GST. Whether you want to start your investment journey with 5,000, 10,000, 1 lakh, 10 lakhs, it really doesn't matter. There is just a small execution fee of 100 rupees plus 18 rupees GST. Apart from that, nothing else will be charged. Let us say you decide to start with Horizon 2045 small case. For example, let us say first time you paid 100 rupees plus GST charges. Second time you want to invest in the same basket, you will be charged 0. Third time you want to start, you'll be charged 0. You want to start a 20-year SIP, you will be charged 0. Okay, so there will be no charges. There will be a small one-time execution fee. Apart from that, whatever brokerage charges you are liable to pay and statutory charges you are liable to pay, you will be paying that. So I think that there is a 20 rupees fee for placing a delivery order in 5Paisa. Yes, Devanshi.
Yes.
Yes. So that will be the charges you will incur, plus 20 rupees ke liye, whatever is the statutory charges which you will be paying, government charges, which you generally pay when you do a stock transaction. सिर्फ वही वाले charges लगाया जाता है, उसके अलावा कुछ भी नहीं. You are free to exit the small case whenever you want, even if you have chosen a 25 even a 45 horizon 2045 small case. You are free to exit the small case whenever you want. If you've started your journey today, yeah. So Smallcase is one of the platforms which we strive for transparency as much as possible. So our founders have insisted on it, and the organization is built in a way where we want to be that kind of an organization which promotes only transparency. So यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है? You are there is no lock-in period for any small case. You are free to liquidate it and take your capital at any point of time. Every ETF for small case, every ETF for stock that comes when you invest in a small case will come directly to your 5Paisa account. That is how it has been built. So you are the owner of your stocks and securities when you invest in a small case. We have absolutely no control or say over what you hold in your account. And apart from that, one of the best things ever about a small case is that there are no exit loads whatsoever. So at the time of exiting, there are no sudden charges, there are no hidden charges, and there are no last minute charges which no one ever told you about when you were investing in that particular asset class. So these are the reasons why small case has been preferred by the younger generation more, and these are direct equity investments. So it kind of becomes a more exciting asset class to be in when people are coming into the markets.
Definitely, Pranav. And that was a great session. Thank you for all the answers. I think सारे आंसर्स आपने दे दिए. एंड येस, सो जैसे कि हमने कहा कि कैसे भी मार्केट्स हों, दिस इज वन पोर्टफोलियो जो आपको बहुत ही सेफ्टी नेट दे देता है, एज वेल एज आपको रिटर्न्स भी दे देता है, जैसे कि आपको प्रणव ने बोला. एंड वी हैव डिस्कस्ड कि क्यों ज़रूरी है, क्यों करना चाहिए, कैसे कर सकते हो. हमने सारे जो टॉपिक्स हैं इसमें कवर कर दिए हैं. विद दैट प्रणव, थैंक यू सो मच फॉर ज्वाइनिंग विद अस, गिविंग योर टाइम, एंड विश यू वेरी हैप्पी वीकेंड.
Yes, wish you the same, Devanshi. And happy investing to everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.